It has been a minute since I've sat down and done a story time video on this channel, like a proper story time video, and I think a lot of that is because so much crazy stuff happens to me on any given day. It's almost like a million times I'm like, oh my god, that would make the best story time story to tell. And then a million other things happen to me and I never circle back to it. But today I felt like I had just the right one that seemed timely and seemed like something that you guys would be interested in hearing. So I thought we'd go ahead and talk about it today. As you can see, I'm holding a pen in my hand, and you probably have already taken notice of that since the title of this video is called For Want of a Pen. And you might be wondering what on earth I'm about to talk about. Well, I have a story. The story itself is not particularly funny or interesting, but I think the lessons learned from it might be. At least for me anyway. So my children wake up early, like they have always been early risers. As am I. I kind of had hoped that they would take after my husband and like really sleep in late, but they absolutely do not. They are up 4, 5, 6 if I'm lucky, a.m. And it's just, it has become a challenge for me because I am my most productive right when I wake up in the morning. Like I snap up out of bed and I get the kitchen cleaned, I work with my planner, I do my prayer time. That is when I really seem to get the most done. And whenever I am the most underwater with the sensible mama, that's what I do. Like I will stay up and I will work all night long. I'll go to bed, take like a 2 or 3 hour nap, and then I'll get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and start working, which just works for me. But my children have continued to make that really challenging because they tend to be light sleepers in the morning. So the minute I get up and walk down the stairs to get my morning started, they instantly wake up. And that has had a lot of like downstream effects on my life in general. One of those things being that I used to always do my Bible time in the morning. That was like my sacred alone time without the kids to center and focus and worship. But once I had Abby and I had 2 children that I had to deal with getting up in the morning, both of whom would often wake up the minute I came downstairs, it just sort of fell by the wayside. And although I have continued in my faith, obviously, I haven't stopped being a Christian, that intimate time in the Bible every morning that I've been missing out on has taken a toll on me. Like I just don't feel like the same person when I'm not getting to do that Bible time, and that's been rough. So last week, I finally got up, tiptoed down the stairs to make my coffee. And before you go in the comments and be like, why don't you just stay in your bedroom if you wake the kids up? It's because I have to have coffee. Like I am an early riser, but there needs to be caffeine. And so I come down the stairs and make my coffee in the morning, and that's when I wake my kids up. Anyhow, this one particular morning last week, I got up, I came down the stairs, and miraculously my children did not wake up. So I started making my coffee. I'm literally like tiptoeing around the house, like so painstakingly quietly closing the cabinets, and I made old school coffee. I didn't use my Keurig, I didn't use my coffee grinder. Like this was like pour over coffee that makes no sound. I get that whole thing done, get my perfect cup of coffee, grab my planner and start trying to get my planning for the day started. And part of that was going to include doing my Bible time. But one of the things that I do is I have my planner here, and then tucked in the back I have an old vestige from my traveler's notebook, which is my Bible study insert. And so I had pulled this out, I had pulled up the scripture that I was going to be reading that day, and I opened this up to start writing down my notes from my Bible study, because that's what I always do. I was so happy, I cannot overstate enough how happy I was to finally be having a chance to have some alone time, do my morning worship, get my planner together for the day, make a plan. Just make a plan to get my day started. Anyway, I go to start writing in my planner, and I realized that the planner I had put in my pen, in the pen loop thing, was not my favorite pen. It skips a little bit when you write, it's not very smooth, it has a little bit too thin of a line for me. And although I could have sat there and just used that pen, something in my brain just wouldn't let it go, that I didn't have my favorite pen. And I took maybe about 2 minutes, 2 actual minutes to sit and deliberate Did I want to sit here and do my Bible study with the bad pen? Or did I want to get up and go looking for the pen? Now, I am a writer by heart. I love to write. I always have pens around the house. So I thought, all right, I've already wasted 2 minutes of my time trying to decide if I should go look for this pen or not. So now I'm just going to go look for the pen. I'm invested now. I have to go. So I start looking all around my house for any of these pens. And I buy these in packs of like 24 or something like that. And I tear my downstairs apart quietly. Still ever so quietly. Peeking through drawers, going to my office desk, looking through my diaper bags, my purse. Like, I tore the place up as quietly as a person can tear a place up, and could not find a single pen anywhere. And at some point, like, I'm starting to get angry. Like, I'm starting to curse under my breath. I'm getting mad at my husband inexplicably. Like, I don't even know how this was his fault that I couldn't find a pen, but somehow I made it his fault. I was like, now I'm starting to get mad at my children because I bet they ran off with my pens. And I let this pen thing absolutely consume me. And finally, I was so frustrated that I went and I sat down on the couch and I pulled out my crappy old pen that I hate. And I wrote one letter with it, like just to write today's date. And I was like, nope, this pen is not going to work. I hate this pen, and now I'm going to sit here and fume about the fact that I don't have my pen, and I'm going to curse this bad pen that I have and just be angry. I had wasted a whole bunch of time looking for the pen. I had inexplicably made myself angry at my spouse and my children. I was angry at my pen. I was angry at myself. And when I cracked open my Bible to start doing my Bible time, I was just like, I'm not in a space to do this right now. Like, I'm all ticked off. Like, I can't even look at this right now, and I put it aside. So then the next thing I thought is like, well, I can plan. I can do my planner. Let's do that. So I pull up my planner. I kind of look at what I have on deck for the day, and I remember something that I need to write down in here that I don't need to forget later. So here we go again. I grab this crappy pen, I make one little scratch mark in my planner, and just was like, nope, this will not work. I close my planner and I sit there furious. Over the next couple of minutes, I just sort of like couldn't move. I just was sitting there so angry over the pen situation. And just as I had sort of like resolved my feelings and talked myself down and was like, Amber, this is a ridiculous thing for you to be this worked up over. It's a pen. Just like get your pen and do what you wanted to do this morning. Guess what? My kids woke up. And both of them woke up at the same time. They both woke up screaming. I don't know, like, if they have just horrible night terrors right as they're waking up, but like that my children wake up every morning like they have woken up in a new place and they don't know where they are. It is a truly like terrifying thing to experience with these children, but so I go upstairs and I get them. And now I am even more angry at them than I was before because they ruined my Bible time and planning time. So I pull them out of their beds and I bring them downstairs, and I have no patience for them. I am so annoyed. They're just being so sweet, like just trying to love on me, and they want hugs and they want kisses, and I'm doing it, but I'm resenting it. And I just like get them their respective cups of milk, and I just sit down feeling sorry for myself and like being so frustrated and overwhelmed with my entire life now. And I was really fortunate that was a day that my children go to see my parents. They go spend the whole day with them so that I can get some work done. And I got through the rest of the morning. I dropped them off at my parents' house. And when I got back home to an empty house, all I could see was sitting there over there on my sofa was my planner and that terrible pen. And I walk over, and the first thing I do is pull back the pages. If I had just turned to like the section of my planner that is devoted to spiritual stuff, I would have found one of my pens. It was right there, stuck in one of these little pin loops, and for whatever reason it was obscured by another part of my planner and I hadn't seen it. And that ended up being an extremely humbling moment for me. So much so that I sat down on the couch and just had myself a nice little cry. And the reason why was because all of a sudden it occurred to me that for the want of a pen, I had destroyed my whole morning. I did not get to have my Bible time, which I had been pining for so long. I did not get to do my planning, which would have really gotten my day started off a whole lot better. I was angry at my spouse because I convinced myself that it was his fault that the pens were missing. I got angry at my children because they woke up before I was able to do any of the stuff that I wanted to do. And when I thought back to the timing of it all, there had probably been a good half hour at least that I was in this pen frenzy, a pensy, and I just absolutely squandered that time that I had. And it wasn't enough that I had squandered it. It was that I had put myself in a terrible emotional state. Like, I know that my husband could tell when he came downstairs that I was just off. I know that my children could pick up on the fact that I was not myself. And I just realized that for the want of a pen, for the want of the perfect ink and the perfect feeling in my hand, just the pen that I like so much, I had put my whole morning and my family's whole morning in a funk. And so a lot of times as a business owner, as a person who has accomplished a lot in my life, I get a lot of questions from people about, like, how do you do it all? How do you manage to get everything done that you do in a day? And it's so funny that this story is the predicate to me explaining to you how I do everything, because that story is an example of the opposite of how I usually am. I'm usually the kind of person who says good enough is good enough, and we're never going to let perfect be the enemy of good. So therefore, you just do the best you can, and if it's not perfect, if not everyone approves of it, if not everyone likes it, if you're not happy with it, like, you need to be happy with it. You should. But at the end of the day, if it's not absolutely perfect, that's okay. You just need to get it done. And so with this case, with this stupid pen, I had done the opposite of what I usually do. Rather than just saying, you know what, I can use this crappy pen and I will get through my Bible study, I will get through my planning this morning, and my day will get started on the totally correct foot. But I let this need for perfection get in the way. And I think that as moms, we do that a lot, which is where I think I'm ultimately trying to go with this story time, is that we convince ourselves, whether professionally or as moms or as wives, we convince ourselves that the only way to be acceptable is to be perfect. And when we are anything less than perfect, we criticize ourselves and we think less of ourselves and we struggle with insecurity. And the thing about that is, we're just never going to be happy that way. And ultimately, nothing will ever be perfect. It doesn't matter how good of a mom you are, somebody's going to criticize you for it. It doesn't matter how good of a wife you are, sometimes your husband is going to think you're not the best wife. In your career, you can do your very best, and there will still be people who criticize with reason and who criticize because they have other motives. And at the end of the day, all that extra time and effort that you put in to being perfect in everyone else's eyes didn't really get you anywhere. My realization with my whole pen thing the other day was that I let perfect be the enemy of good. And that's not how any of us want to be living our lives. What's so funny now that I think about it is, as I was looking for my pen, what was flashing through my mind was like all of these YouTubers who I love watching, who make planning videos, and even when they're just like scratching down their daily plans, like they have beautiful handwriting and it just looks so elegant and nice, and like I want my planner to look that way, and it never does. And something that day about not having the right pen, of having a pen that I knew was going to look ugly in my planner, like it was the thought of comparing myself to these other women, I think. It was just like, my planner is never going to look like theirs. And I realize that sounds really kind of petty and maybe first world problem-y, but at the time, that was how I felt. And so it was just this feeling of needing to stack up or measure up to these other people who don't know me and I don't know them, but I look up to them. I want to be just like them. But, I don't have the same skills as they have. Maybe they can't do a lot of things that I do. We'll never know. But for me to sit there and compare myself to someone else and let that be the catalyst for why I'm like so upset over this pen is just crazy to me. And ultimately, as moms, I feel like that's where the most of our unhappiness comes in. I could be wrong, but I talk to a lot of moms on a daily basis. And I think the reason why so many of us are unhappy is because we're always comparing ourselves to other moms. We're always like, oh, well, I wish I was the Pinterest mom. I wish I was the PTA mom. I wish I was more laid back as a mom instead of always uptight. We look at other people who we think are doing the mom thing so much better than we are. And we never stop to think that there are things about ourselves as mothers that they're looking at and wishing they could be like. And it only takes having a conversation with them to realize that that's true. If we're the kind of people asking ourselves if we are good moms or not, then we're already good moms. And I say that all the time. But if you're the kind of person who is truly asking and like trying to decide if you're a good mom and how you could be better even if you are, then you already don't have anything to worry about. So I feel like this video has meandered all over the place. The main reason why I wanted to make it is because I feel like even though I wasn't fully understanding when I started where I wanted to go with this, I just had a feeling there was a message for somebody in here. And I've noticed some of my most successful storytime videos on YouTube have been that way, when I've just turned on the camera and been like, I don't really know what I'm about to say, but the person who needs to hear this is gonna hear it, and I just have to trust that. So if you're someone who's watching this and going, I don't know what I'm supposed to take away from that, join the club. I'm not really sure if there's a golden nugget in here for everybody, but if you're the person who was touched by this video, then know that it's my belief that God wanted you to hear that today, and he just finds people to use as a mouthpiece. And if you don't believe in God, that's okay. I'm not trying to force that on you. It's just my belief. But I'm hopeful that if you are someone who needed to hear that story, what you will do is guard your heart a little bit from your own self-criticism and your own self-doubt. Stop comparing yourself to everyone around you, because at the end of the day, comparison is just the thief of joy. There is a reason why that is a cliche thing that people say. It's because it's true. Comparison will destroy us if we let ourselves get caught up in it, as well as the need for perfection. At the end of the day, we're just all moms doing our best. So don't let the want of something perfect stop you from doing good in your career, in your marriage, in your mom life. Just keep doing good. And eventually, you'll get better. You'll probably never be perfect, but you'll always be getting better. So that's my story time for today. Thank you for listening. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you'll stay. If you're just breezing by, it was nice to see you. Hope to see you again. To all of the regulars who are always here, love ya, mean it, always, mwah. And I'll see you in the next one.